talk about cancel culture never seem to shut the up about. Look, the internet has democratized criticism. What do we do for a living? We talk, we criticize, we postulate, we opine, we make jokes, and now other people are having their say. And that's not cancel culture, that's relentlessness.
Look, when I saw that, I thought Jon Stewart makes a great point. And by that, I mean the same thing I always do, is that he made a point that I've made. And so I really like it because it was mine and it's his too. But anyway, so basically what he's saying is a two-part thing, JR, and we could talk about both of these. So one is about what actual sort of philosophical merit there is to the idea of cancel culture, which the people who are worried about cancel culture, or at least want you to think they're worried about it, they are very set on you taking this seriously. It's the most important thing. And then the second thing is they sure do focus on it a lot. It's not just that they think it exists or want you to think it exists. It is like foundational, core to what they're saying. This is true for some randos. It's definitely true for some in right-wing media, as we'll see in just a little bit. What do you think about what he had to say?
Well, cancel culture is a basis in humility, and whether or not you're willing to learn or fix yourself, make yourself better, progress, learn about the world, be enlightened. All these things that many times, in many cases, especially us as Americans, it's frowned upon. We grew up thinking or being told, not thinking, but being told, hey, you know what? You're lowering yourself if you listen to someone else with a different point of view. You're not standing up for your core values if you change your mind. What were your core values and what were they based on? If your core values were based on something that someone else told you to believe that you maybe don't even necessarily believe anymore, or you don't even practice when it comes to things like, say, religion, because many people say, oh, I'm this Christian, and they act nothing like Christians, but they use that as an excuse to be horrible to other people and deny their existence and things like that. So yeah, it's what he's saying is it's an exercise in having to actually listen to someone else. Yeah. Having to actually pay attention to someone else's life and experiences, because it all doesn't just resonate just from you. You're not the center of the universe. Everyone thinks they're the center of the universe in one way or another, and they're like, oh, how dare that just because I disparage someone and eliminate their existence, which then leads to actions where people do things like actually eliminate their existence or disparage them or in their participation in society. That's okay for you to do it. Mm-hmm. The anti-cancel culture people have been for cancel culture since the beginning of everyone else's time. And now they're finally getting some pushback and they just can't take it.
Yeah, well, look, so I have a lot that I want to talk about on this, but I want to go to a super chat because I think it's actually a good question that was asked. So YTP Renewed says, how do you categorize the Dixie Chicks example? That's a great question, because the Dixie Chicks, at least for a long time, found less mainstream acceptance because they spoke out against the war in Iraq. That is definitely true. So I want to be very clear. When I say that cancel culture doesn't exist or it's a myth, I don't mean that no one has ever lost an opportunity over what they say or advocate for or whatever. What I mean is the construct that's pushed every day by the right wing and other people who knowingly or unknowingly are doing the work of the right wing, that does not exist. I am not saying that nobody has ever had consequences levied against them. I will also point out that they were canceled to the extent that they were canceled by the right, by people who are pushing for a war. So let's be very clear about that. And the modern narrative of the cancel culture does not have 1 inch of room for right-wing cancellation of people who aren't conservative. That is not a part of it by intention. It is designed in that way. And another one of the myths that I talk about a lot that I want to, I'd write a book, but it seems like a lot of work, is that nothing about this is new. The term is new, but nothing about what is actually being done is new. It is exactly the same conversation, the same social thing as the 90s conversation about political correctness, and for the exact same reasons. The reason I talk about it and want to focus on it is I want people to understand that they are being conned by those who talk about cancel culture. This construct has been created by rich people, powerful people who do not want to be criticized in any way. And I'm being very specific with my language there. they're not worried about being canceled because basically nobody ever has been. They're worried about something far less. They talk about cancellation to avoid criticism. They talk about their own free speech rights to stop you from using yours. Because as Jon Stewart points out, all of this is about people saying what they think, criticizing something they don't like. And they're told that they're against free speech when they do that. They're literally exercising their free speech rights. And on the contrary, the other people who are worried about cancel culture and are trying to stop the leftist censors are inherently telling people to not express themselves. Do not speak out about what you believe. Some people get to do that. The rich people, the elites, the wealthy, those who I'm defending, they will always have that right, and they do always have that right. After years of cancel culture, who did we get? Epstein? I think that's pretty much it. The rest of them are fine. And by the way, some people who I generally like talk about this. Dave Chappelle, I know this quote because The Hill tweeted it out 30 times. It was, if this is cancel culture, I love it. But that's kind of the point. It ain't actually cancel culture if it ain't that bad when you've been canceled. So anyway, there's a lot there, JR. I apologize. It's something I care a lot because the people who are pushing, like some randos, they legitimately believe it. They're wrong. They don't know that they're being conned, that they've been deputized into this culture war. But the people like Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson, all that, they know exactly what they're doing. They have a strategy. They're waging war. It's the same war as it's always been, but I want people to understand the battleground at the very least.
Yeah, as I point out, the cancel culture thing is not new, or at least someone getting blacklisted. Things like that happen in the time in industries, except they happen a lot of times people who were challenging the industry or the powerful people in charge. People, you bring up Dixie Chicks. That was like in 2003 or 2004.
Yeah.
There wasn't the huge. Were we even using smartphones then? I don't even think so. That kind of started around 05, 06.
That was 06, I think.
Yeah. So the whole thing with apps where you have like Instagrams and Twitters and all that stuff, where people instantly respond to what you've said and done, which is now the atmosphere that we're in, that has given platforms to people who normally don't have platforms, and regular people that can coalesce and criticize a powerful person. The powerful people are not used to being criticized. And now that they're being criticized, they can't take it. And I'm being canceled. The people in power have always had the biggest problems once they finally have to deal with the consequences of things that they've done, that they indiscriminately have done to other folks throughout time.
Yeah.
You know, they can implement policies or influence politicians to do horrible things to people. And as soon as people ask for something else, or I'm sorry, demand for something else because of where they live and who they are, and their place as Americans in this society, it's, oh my God, I can't believe you're coming for me. Yep. Coming for you. It's a threat to them for someone else to hold them accountable or do a small percentage of the things to them that they've always done to everyone else. They just can't take it. So now it's, we have to do something about this.
Yeah, no, 100%. And again, like I know to some extent I'm gonna repeat myself, either from earlier or from other shows, but it is not that nothing happens. The Dixie Chicks did lose out on opportunities. You know, it was the right that did it. And sometimes maybe leftists or centrists or whatever do something that in theory causes someone to lose an opportunity. But what I'm saying is that is not cancel culture, and cancel culture does not exist because whatever is happening often does not get filed under the bucket, the heading of cancel culture. No right winger says, you know, we really did go too far with the Dixie Chicks. We were doing a cancel culture. They don't do that. When Sean Hannity is pushing for a boycott of Keurig, that's not cancel culture. When Donald Trump is leading a nationwide campaign to primary and remove every Republican that's ever spoken out against him, that's not cancel culture. And that's not me saying that. They won't acknowledge that that's that. And that's why we have to destroy this construct. It isn't actually a problem. It isn't widespread like they talk about it. It has nothing to do with real people's problems. And it has been designed to only incorporate a critique of the left. That is literally all it is, 100%. Which is why when you see leftists supporting the idea of it, it's even more distressing than the right, because we should know better. We should know how this has always been deployed against the left. And just as a general rule, If it's so bad to do this stuff, if it's cancellation to criticize Dave Chappelle or Joe Rogan or whoever, I want you to try to put yourself, and I apologize for this, in the shoes of a Ben Shapiro. And imagine, hypothetically, someone you disagree with says or does something you don't like. What does Ben Shapiro do? Does he shut up about it? Does he keep it to himself because he wouldn't want to do a cancel culture? No, you know that. Ben Shapiro criticizes them. He says stuff. Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Donald Trump, all the Republicans, they go hard against the things they disagree with, and we get to do the exact same thing.
Yep. They're not used to that power dynamic, and they're like, wait a second, I'm supposed to be in power here. That's what it comes down to.
Exactly.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.